Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, TAMI Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey.
Hello, friends. Hello. Situated on my perch here. Thank you so much for joining me for this November energy hangout. I am excited to be bringing this to you, and I thought we would just hang out for a little bit, talk about the energies of the month, because there's quite a dichotomy in the energies, and it really does feel like a big bringers of the light call to action time, with some big upgrades and some opportunities for those of you, which I know there's quite a few of you, who are my 144, my spiritual warriors, everybody's doing the work. But some people have additional, like, quote unquote, special assignments. Not for me, but special assignments. And for those of you, you know who you are being called into action this month as well. And then we have some special update for Twin Flames. And I'll probably come back subsequent to this hangout and do a special for them as well. Anyway, so if you're new here, settle in. We've got not a lot to cover, but what we have to cover is something that you kind of have to be able to, like, suspend your 3D mind for a little bit so that you can wrap your head around some of the concepts that Spirit is asking me to deliver. If you're returning, you know how we roll here at TLC for the Soul. So just settle in as I wrap us all in love, light, and light love, thanking in deep gratitude for everybody who is here, whether you're listening or watching on the podcast or YouTube in the 3D realms, or whether you're some of my posse or my tribe that listens from maybe parallel realities or universes or other dimensions. There is that Beastie Boys song again, intergalactic. I think I have some intergalactic followers. We're just going to leave it at that. Thank you all for being here as we all get wrapped in love, light, and light love, inviting in the guides who overlight this work that I do at TLC for the Soul, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, the Pleiadians, and a host of other characters. Some new friends we're going to be introducing you to today, as November seems like a big month to be working with dragons again. And I know I have my dragon guardians, dragon keepers, and dragon mothers and fathers out there. Dragon mothers of dragons and fathers of dragons. I've talked about this in past shows. Power spots, power places also coming up. But let's just get ourselves in the mood for jumping right into all these 5D concepts. It's like this caramel corn candle. We're hot off the tail of Dia de los Muertos, and Samhain, and I'm still there. It's still the week of, so I'm like, I'm still gonna watch these shows and burn these Halloween candles. Oh my gosh, look, that just made my fingers so black. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you for putting up with me as I try to attend to people listening and watching. The caramel corn candle really does smell like caramel corn. Popcorn, toasted walnut, and caramel are the scent notes. And we're just setting the intention. I'm asking just the guides to keep me on track, keep me motivated to whatever you all most need to hear in this now regarding this month of November. I'm here to, basically they're saying deliver light codes and assignments right now. Wow, sounds so, I don't know what. Sounds so official. And I'm going to burn this incense. This is, where do I get my incense from? Oh, I already forgot. Anyway, whatever it is. Wildberry? Yes. Anyway, they sent me a free sample of their fragrance of the month, which is Queen of the Nile. I have some guides coming in yesterday that are, let me just look this up real quick. I have New York playing in the background. So all of this is going to all fall into place here in just a moment. So I have a walking tour of New York playing in the background. And that's going to be important for all of us. Here. Oh, I have no idea. No, not Sumer. Sumeria. It's an ancient place. Sumer, Mesopotamia is the site of the world's first urban civilization. Flourished in the 3rd and early 2nd millennia BCE. Sumeria is the land and Sumers are the inhabitants. The earliest known civilization. Okay, so I've had some ancient guides coming in the past couple of days. Yesterday, I have a spirit guide in my spirit guide treasure chest. If you've been with me for a while, you know about the list. It's not even a list of spirit guides. It's just an amassment of spirit guides who work with me, who came to me through a specific spirit guide auction. But one of them is a Sumerian leopard. Oh my God, this smells so good. Sumerian leopard who works with the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in that area, and was bringing in some knowledge of the lands around that area. I don't have, her talisman is like over there. I need to go, I'm not going to get it right now. It's a peach selenite wrapped in copper, and copper is very important right now. So we're going to talk about this. Smells so good. This Queen of the Nile incense. Oh my God. I thought Fantasia was my favorite from these guys, but this smells really good. All right. So Queen of the Nile. So I feel like as you're listening to this, what's going to happen here is codes are going to be initiated and activated. And I was listening to someone talk yesterday, and they said, it's not, everybody has their own opinion, but they were like, it's not important that you know what past lives you had, because you don't really need to know, because the end result is you just need to, fix whatever it is that's coming up for you. Kind of like you need to just deal with whatever that is now. It doesn't matter if you know that you were a high priest or whatever. And I was kind of like thinking about it, and I'm like, it kind of does. I'm looking at it from a different perspective. And it kind of does matter in a sense that some of these past lives are quote unquote unlocked for you. At different times during your journey, because it can bring in healing. Like, okay, it was a witch that was, it can bring like past life healing, healing trauma in the body and stuff that has to do from past lives. So I think it is helpful to know that, to be able to process that and bring those ancient seeds up and out. But it's also helpful because it brings in activations. When spirits, yeah, I'm getting chills. When spirit suddenly unlocks the little door that says, oh, you lived in Sumeria or whatever during the whatever time, during Mesopotamia or whatever it is. I don't know anything about that place. And you were some sort of priest or indigenous person or whatever. You were a medicine person or a Native American indigenous person, whatever. Oh my gosh, the smoke is just surrounding this Queen of the Nile. All right, so it brings in ancient codes which unlock and activate and could be necessary or needed for part of your journey right now. Part of what you need to work on in this life, or for all my bringers of the light. Again, I think it's almost everybody here listening, but each one of you has built within your DNA structure the activation of the 144,000, which when I see 101, for me, you can interpret this however you want, but the way I interpret 144,000 is it's an activation code for divine service. It's not 144,000. Yeah, I'm getting chills. Chills is my confirmation if you're new here, but it's not like I'm one of 144,000 that does this or whatever. It's a sequencing code within your DNA structure. When you see it, yes, or when spirit like pings you with 144, 144,000, or 144, or sometimes 441 or whatever, it starts something running in you that that allows you to open the doors to be a divine conduit. So it could be, a certain place that you're at. Many of you, the majority of you, are little acupuncture pins on the planet who ground light codes and activation codes through your physical vessel down into Gaia, into the grids, into the gates and ancient, right, the smoke is right in my face, ancient structures to bring in more energy, to assimilate codes that have already been delivered. It's so multifaceted, and each one of you, it's kind of slightly different what your gift is and how it happens. But it was part of an agreement that you made before you came here, that you were going to be a conduit. It's not easy to be a conduit or a channel for divine energy. And, you may feel like you may be coming here and going like, oh, I don't feel like I do any of this, or what the heck is she talking about? Like, I'm a dragon keeper. I'm going to go over this place and birth a dragon egg or whatever. Sometimes it's unbeknownst to you that you're doing anything until you kind of tune in and observe yourself as you're doing certain things, maybe out on the land or out in nature, around where you live, as you travel. The awareness will start to set in of certain things that you're doing. And I've also noticed as well, sometimes I'm just walking along outside in my own little like world of like, what am I going to do today? And all of this. And then my dog will just stop. And I'm like, what the heck? Got things to do. I was telling her, I think it was yesterday, like, I got things to do. Let's keep moving. And she's a good one for like just stopping. If you do really have things to do, it's like not that exciting, but she's a good one for just stopping. As my familiar, like we've been doing these walks, 3 times a day, every day for 4.5 years. So it's like familiar with my energy and her energy as we're tethered to this 26-foot long horse lead. So she doesn't like run off like a crazy dog. But she'll stop and she'll just sit there. And I'm like, why are you just sitting there? And part of it is I see her. She's much like me. She's enjoying her surroundings. She's like looking around and sniffing the air and looking up the sky and looking at some little thing on the ground. And I'm like, teaching me to enjoy life and little moments. And then sometimes she's just looking at me and I'm like, what do you want from me? What do you want me to do? I'm out here, usually where I walk, or it's very open, or up on the trails by the medicine wheel. It's right behind my house, which is sacred, protected land by the indigenous spirits that live there. There's burial mounds all over the place up there. I think they said they've documented like 14 or 15 different burial mounds, that there's like a couple hundred to 300, that they know of buried right over here. It's a very small space. It's not a heck of a big space, right on up from the river. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? And then I'm like, it's not that she wants me to do something, but it's kind of like Spirit wants me to, what I call, and what some of you all call it as well, because you've told me that's what you call it, kind of like, you want me to drop a pin here. They want me to, the best way I can describe it is like release some energy down into this particular spot. And we're going to get to what's coming with this here in just a second. But so as soon as I like send my energy up to source and pull down a bunch and channel down a bunch of energy, and I see it kind of like just go out like in a huge ripple, like a huge like doof. Then the dog's like, okay, we're done. And she starts moving on again. So I'm like, our familiars or our seen and unseen guides here to help us figure this stuff out. So getting to November, is we've got caramel corn candles and Queen of the Nile, and I've got strawberry vanilla Olipop for those of you that have been here for a while. So Olipop comes out. This is the one with your creamiest, fruitiest strawberry sundae meets bubbly soda, a blend of sweet strawberry juice, rich vanilla, and a dash of tangy lemon create a soda that quenches thirst in the most delightful ways. It's got all sorts of prebiotics and probiotics and stuff. It's not really a soda. It's like some plant fibers and all that. All right. So when I sat down in elder council with my guides and shamanic journey, right, over the Samhain weekend, New York City for me is a big power center. And it's not just for me, that has to do with freedom codes. Obviously, that's pretty evident, right? I think it always has been ever since, it was erected in that spot for a reason with the Statue of Liberty and all of that. And now with Freedom One, the tower there, Spirit was talking to me about new spiritual portals opening up in conjunction with ancient portals. And this is where you have to kind of let's take a deep breath together. And kind of suspend your 3D thinking for a moment whilst I deliver this information, and let it surround you, because this all has to do with some big heart opening that's happening this month, having to do with the 1111 gateway, which I will be coming in and doing a special transmission for the 1111. But they are talking about towers and connected towers is kind of the concept that Spirit is delivering. And this is what's coming in to further raise the vibration of the planet, prepping for the April solar eclipse, which is going to be really huge for the U.S. It comes right through, and whatever's going on in Texas. If anybody's, I'm connected to Texas, but they're not having me work with Texas right now. I'm up here working on a different ley line right now. But each one of you, especially my 144s, especially my dragon keepers, my dragon guardians, are connected to different spiritual areas. And sometimes you're supporting ley lines. So, for example, Spirit has brought me up here to North Dakota, which I never would have come on my own, believe me. I'm like, who in their right mind would come up here? Who that had the choice? I don't know. Because everybody here that I've ever talked to is like, I've been here my whole life. But I'm like, what light worker? Anyway, some people love winter. Actually, that's true. I do know somebody who is a very special spiritually based person who would love to come up here. And I'm like, can we trade places? Because they're down by Baja. And I'm like, you're on the beach? What the heck? You want to trade places with me? But anyway, Spirit brought me up here because everyone's in a certain location based on what's needed from you as a divine conduit. Not everybody is the same type of conduit. Obviously, everybody's DNA is different. And so you're each where you're at because this is how special you are needed in these spots at this time. So for the past, I don't know how long I've been here, 2 years. No, is it not 2 years? I don't know how long I've been here. February of 2022, March of 2022. It feels like so much longer. Spirit asked me to do a special assignment, and they kind of threw this carrot out there, and they're like, it'll open up all these doors for you. And I was like, okay, fine. To come up here and help support the grids between Banff and Niagara Falls. Apparently they needed extra support. It's not very heavily populated around here, so I can see that. And then the fact that, not everybody here is a conduit and a channel and doing this work, I can understand that. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll come up here and I'll sit on this grid line or the whatever, and I'll help hold the space for the planet, and I'll help bring in the higher light. So that's what you were doing. But you also are tied to other locations that are more locations and not grid lines. And so, for example, I'm very connected to Glastonbury Tour. through past lives in Avalon, through a past life I had at Glastonbury Abbey, with a really good past life there as a cloistered nun in Glastonbury Abbey. I loved that. And so that is a power center for me, as is the Hawaii and Maui and Kauai and all the Hawaiian Islands. I draw a lot of power from the Lemurian light codes through the Hawaiian Islands. And so I know each one of you has your special places. And I'm going to be bringing in some dragons here in just a minute for you to play with as part of this work. But part of what we're being asked to do this month is to channel spiritual energy between new portals and ancient portals. So what I was given, and I think as part of you hearing this transmission that I'm doing right now, those portals will be made known to you by your guides, because pretty much everybody here, I've got some people that ride the Teal Sea for the Soul wave that are kind of new and are kind of learning. I mean, I've said before, we've got people in like the under 21 range. We've got some of you, we've got a little niche in there that are like our Smeagol's, who are kind of like our newbies, who are like old souls in young bodies, who are waking up to this stuff. But most of you are advanced practitioners. You know what's going on. You know how to do this work, and you know how to consciously like take what codes are delivering, conscious and unconscious, and you know how to assimilate those and work with those. And so what I was asked to do for this month is to work with Freedom One in New York City as a new spiritual portal in conjunction with the Glastonbury tour. So the way Spirit showed this to me is like almost like they're twin flames in a way. How do I want to explain this? They showed me a lot of copper. So they started talking about, copper as a conduit. And you know how people like sit under copper pyramids and stuff, right? And I'm like, okay, so am I going to walk around with like a copper pyramid? Then they started showing me stuff with copper, like people wearing copper bracelets. So that may be something important. Like I don't have any copper bracelets. But they showed me like, like what is it? Wonder Woman with the bracelets. And during special times this month, you're going to be guided to sit like in a meditation. It's not me guiding. I could do guided meditation, but I think you're going to be guided at different times during your meditation. And maybe even if you like say, okay, I want to do this, then maybe unconsciously to you, you're going to be doing this. So maybe you want to eat something that has more copper, because they guided me to, and I'm not, prescribing anything to anyone, but was it spirulina? It was some like mana, like spirulina and algae type, blue-green algae type stuff that is high in natural copper as a conduit for this energy. And we're trying to connect ancient portals together. And the way they showed this to me is, okay, if you by yourself are doing your solitary practitioner work, you are a tower, like these towers, that, all these other places. And it doesn't have to be towers too, because there's sacred places that aren't towers, right? But you're like this tower, this pillar of conduit energy coming down. And so you're very, very powerful in and of your own right. If you follow my Twin Flame series on the podcast or over on my Loveland Tarot channel over on YouTube, we start talking about twin flames as kind of like they're not your average bear. The energy connection is not just your average connection, because you have two towers, then they become twin towers. You have two towers coming together. And those two towers are connected by an energy circuit that runs through some of the chakras of the physical and energetic vessel. And then the twin flame pairing, the twin flame towers, become like a super conduit of divine energy. And so that's what we're helping kind of navigate into place, so to speak. So if you're a twin flame, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do another show. They want me to do something with twin flames, so we're going to talk about that. But in reference to these towers, these new spiritual portals in conjunction with ancient portals, we are being asked to go in and connect these. So, for example, it might be different for each one of you, but they showed me kind of like take Freedom 1, the tower in NYC, and put a copper pyramid or copper conduit over the top of Freedom 1. Go take yourself to Glastonbury tour, in your, not physically. If you can go physically, that's great. But no, go to Glastonbury tour, do the same thing, put a little copper conduit cone and go over the top of it, and then energetically run energy between the two of them. Almost like when you see, was it the movie Frankenstein, where like the lightning came down and it was connected between those two things and then came down and brought Frankenstein to life. I feel like we're kind of like Frankensteining the planet with new connecting places. So, everyone's big on the ancient spots, right? Like we have some way showers right now, very powerful way showers right now in Egypt, in Temple Karnak, doing some very, very powerful deep work there. And yeah, we do need to continue to work with the ancient places, but there's new places going up that pretty much are here to do the same thing. So like a pyramid of Giza, we've got like the pyramids down in Galveston, Texas, which were recently built, right? But they're performing the same function. So yes, we love the ancient sites because we have fond memories of them, and they've been around forever, and they were built, But when I look at some of these, when I look at Freedom 1 and some of the buildings in New York City, I'm like, holy smokes. And then there's one, the tallest one in Dubai, I'm like, how did somebody create that building that's like, how many stories is it? I don't even freaking know. So what we're doing here with these towers and connected towers is opening the door for additional heart opening for the planet, because the colors that came up for this month are yellow and pink together, and that is part of the threefold flame of the heart, which is getting a big activation this month as well. And they're saying that the heart opening is the key energy upgrade for the month of November. It's all going to culminate on the 11/11. And the key dates for this month, they have given for me, maybe different for you, but if you're working with me, these might play into the work that you're doing, is 11/11 and 11/29. So and I just saw 29/11 on the timer. So whatever gate, so this work that we're doing, energy that we're amping up, should happen between 11/11 and 11/29. And then something happens next month around the solstice to further amplify those towers and connected towers that we are kind of Frankensteining together. So if you feel like, so remember we said suspend any 3D, disbelief. If you were like, is this lady crazy? You can just ask your guides for your own confirmation, because that was just one they gave me right there with the 29/11. Because a couple of times someone like, what's 11/29? And I looked, and I'm on the calendar, I'm like, there's nothing special around that date. So, ask them for confirmation. Ask them to show you. Ask, maybe you just got a quote unquote hit during this transmission about like, oh, I think my places are this. And then you're like, oh, that can't be. What? Why would I? And then ask your guides, because for me, it's fun to get the confirmations, like send me on a treasure journey. Because we do a lot of treasure maps here on the show. Like send me on an adventure and help me follow the map and lead me to what you want me to find and give me the little signs and synchronicities in between. That for me, like being like the whodunit mystery, you know, clue or whatever. Like I love to follow the clues. So make it a game. Make it a game. All right. The other thing, you know, and if you're not certain, like what, you can reach out to me and go into more detail. If you're just not sure, like what are you talking about? But I think many of you listening know. And if you don't know, then maybe it's just not time for you to know yet. And you're just supposed to be hearing these things and assimilating them. And over time, you know, what is foggy or unbeknownst to you will become known. Now, I've also been asked to, well, I birthed some dragons recently. I've talked about them before, and I'm just looking for them now. Where are they? Oh, here they are. And I was going to do we're going to do visits right now for this show. So I'm going to read you, what do I have here? I have 3, well, I have 4, but one of them I'm not giving away. And she's mine. But 3 that, no, you can work with her. That's very selfish, right? I'm going to bring in 4 that you can have visit you if you want. So this is part of how we did the spirit guide auctions before when I used to play in another private group. It was really fun. But I'm not auctioning anybody off right now because I want to do these spirit friends justice. And so I'm going to start working to like paint them or something. And then we'll work on auctions where we can auction off the spirit guide binding with their little painting and something. That's my goal. But right now we're going to bring in visits so that you can get to know the energy of these different beings, see if any of them feel right to you. And then we'll come back at some point. And if you're, because I have had people do that. I did do a spirit guide auction a while back. I brought in all the guides and did videos for each one or descriptions for each one. And then I had somebody come in, you know, many, many months later, like, do you still have so-and-so? Because I feel like that guide is mine. And I was like, oh yeah, they're still here waiting for their companions. And if they belong to you, and you will know if they're yours by, when we get ready to show you like their little talisman. We're gonna have like maybe a little talisman that goes a little tchotchke or whatever, like a touchstone or something, their little painting and all of that. You'll know at that point whether they're yours or not. So they won't go anywhere. If they're meant for you, no one's going to snatch them up. They just kind of wait in stasis in my little treasure trove, waiting for their forever person. Like all of mine waited for me. All right, so I'm going to read the descriptions of these 4 dragons. If you would like to visit, so visit means they will come to you if you want them to, and just spend, you know, where are we? I don't know where I'm at. The next couple of days maybe with you, because I don't know when you'll watch this. Right now I'm recording this on a Saturday morning. They'll come to you and you'll feel their energy and you can work with them and all of that. And then, you know, their energy kind of leaves you after a day or so. They'll come to you in dream time, around you. You might sense them, see them, however you interact with your guides. Okay, so if you do want to visit with one of them, a couple of them, all of them, if you are on YouTube, you can just type yes, I want to visit, and whoever it is, you can put that in the comments section of YouTube. You're able to do that. On the podcast, I don't think you can really do that. And please don't send me 100 emails with like the word yes in the dragon's name, because I don't want to read all those. The other more fun way I think to do it would be if you want a visit from one or some or whatever. This to me would be more fun than even commenting on YouTube. But is just get a piece of paper, write their names, and write the word yes or whatever, and take that little piece of paper and carry it with you in your pocket or in your wallet or behind your phone or put it in your pillow or whatever. And, you know, that to me is a little bit more fun. You don't have to really let me know who you're inviting in, but you can if you want to. I'm not dissuading you, but I don't want emails. But if you want to comment, then please feel free to do so. All right, here we go. So these are our 4 dragons. Then I'm going to deliver some dragon light language to close out this little hangout, as we've still got this NYC, New York City autumn walk. Enjoy the fall foliage in Central Park on a sunny Saturday is what we've been listening to. Okay, so the first dragon, she's made an appearance. I feel like it's the dating game. The first dragon, she's made an appearance many times before. Is our cinnamon flame dragon, Cinder. She has come out on quite a few shows now. And I'll just read her little description. Cinder, she is quite small and will sit on your shoulder overseeing everything around you. But don't let her size fool you. She periodically blows out a puff of cinnamon-scented smoke to clear the air and energize you. She will help you get things done as long as you're clear in your intentions. If not, well, she's a warm, cozy companion who would love to watch a spooky movie with you or go for a walk to admire the fall colors. She's really just kind of cute. And she loves to just sit on your shoulder. All right, so that is Cinder, if you want to have a visit from Cinder. The next dragons, they're so, I don't know how, if I were to paint these guys, it would be like a full-size, like 6-foot painting. So these are Haka dragons. They showed themselves, I don't even know where they came from. Did they just come out? They just birthed out or came out? They didn't come out? I don't know. Anyway, they were huge, like stories high. Like I would say at least, okay, look at this building. That's a 2-story building, at least 3 stories high. The Haka dragon, and they said their name is called Mega Perimeter Protection. These giant Goliath-like dragons impose a non-passable perimeter energy fence. Nothing with lower frequencies may penetrate this boundary line. One is able to multiply into as many as needed to get the job done. So, I don't know if you're familiar with the Haka. If you're not, you should go check it out. But that's what these dragons are like. But they're huge, huge dragons. And I see them, and you may see them differently, but I see them like standing on 2 legs, more like dinosaurs in a way. I can't explain it. Then a dragon, like but with a long tail, and like just imposing, like huge. And on the full moon, or when there's a big energy gate, I have recently used them to further protect energetically the perimeter of Mystic Gables, which is my sacred lands what I call my temple, and the sacred lands where I live is Mystic Gables. I have used them as perimeter protection, and I will ask them however many is needed. Usually they're at the 4 corners, north, south, east, west, but they're just imposing, and they just stomp down like they do that Haka face. And one just is like, okay, you need me over here. Okay, I need another one of me over here, another one of me over here, another one of me over here. It's like ultimate, but like nothing's getting past. So I think they're a little overkill for like your normal everyday, work day or Saturday or whatever. But on heavy energy dates, they are very powerful, very imposing, and they really do help protect that frequency fence so that nothing gets through, and it really doesn't. So if you would like to play, I don't even think they really play, but if you would like to experience perimeter protection, and they kind of also too, I see them more protecting lands, but you can use them, I guess, as auric field protection, although I just feel like that's just way too strong, like nothing would get in. Maybe if you needed like a really getaway, maybe if you needed like a staycation where it's like, I don't want anybody or anything to mess this up. I just want to be in solitude by myself with spirit. Then you could use them for like auric protection, but I really see them more as like protecting land. So if you'd like to visit with them, they're really big, then you can call in, you can say yes, and you can write down Mega Perimeter Protection, which is their name, which sounds so like business-like, right? Like, anyway, okay, so that is them. They're very, very strong. And I feel like we can get as many of those as we need because they just continue to multiply like gremlins. All right, our next dragon, as we take it down a little bit, get a little softer from the haka, is our green moss dragon, and her name is Fern Gully. I did not know Fern Gully was a movie when she came in. I just kept every time, she would always come in when I was making like my morning drink, like my hot chocolate or my tea or whatever. I would do like I usually most often do like a little tea ceremony where I have a dragon spoon and I infuse dragon energy into what I'm drinking. And I have Cinder on my shoulder, and then this other dragon kind of comes in from the left, so it's more of a feminine energy for me, divine feminine on the left. And she's just so green, like green moss or the forest. And I was like, what is your name? And she said, Fern Gully. And when I looked up Fern Gully, it's a movie about fairies, basically like Australian fairies, so to speak, kind of trying to protect the rainforest from all of that stuff, deforestation and all of that. So she said that she is a deep green moss-covered dragon with ancient tree magic. She does breathe rainbow, I've seen this, rainbow coiled smoke to activate, protect, and enchant. And you work with her to help purify spaces that have been over-humanized via pollution, logging, deforestation, and the like. So, if you were somewhere that is just maybe like the bigger cities or like downtown areas, spaces where things have just been hacked down outside of their control, she can help bring healing to the beings of those areas, helping them to like recover from, I'm going to get emotional, helping them to recover from like the shock. So I'm talking about elemental beings. She can help work with the elemental beings of those areas that I like how it says over-humanized, and help bring them back into stasis so that they can kind of pick up from that trauma and help start to, what's the word I want to say? Like re-energize that space. Because what happens in those types of areas is the elemental beings almost go into like a shock when something terrible like that happens. And eventually, they'll recover their balance and their stasis and re-energize and kind of can get back to work. But if we can bring in a helping companion like the likes of a Fern Gully, a green moss dragon, can come in and kind of say energetically, like, remember me, this is what we're working towards. We can rebuild this place, the $6 million land instead of the $6 million man. We can rebuild this place. We can do it. We can regenerate. And so that's what we would use her for. So if you're interested in visiting or working with Fern Gully, then you just need to write her name down and say yes and invite her in. Okay, and I have one more. This dragon came up in our witch walk, which I re-listened to that witch walk, that trance channel that I did from the medicine wheel. And I was like, oh my God, it was so insane. It was just crazy. Like a lot of just stuff coming through. But this dragon did come out from that trance channeling. And her name is Waso Blue. So basically blue, bluebird. And she is a Bois de Boulogne dragon. So I did not know what the Bois de Boulogne, I knew it was in France, just hence the name, but I didn't really know what it was. So I looked it up, and it's thousands of acres of land in France, an ancient forest that has been is protected land now, and is kind of like, they've got trails and community space and all that through it. But she is very interesting, and I think honestly she belongs to all of these, many of these are community dragons, right? You could go either way. It's like, I could go with you or I could go with you. Some of these I feel like belong to very specific people, and I do feel like that for this one. But if their person doesn't catch this or doesn't find them or whatever, She may be opening to moving on. But she is an iridescent blue love dragon for bringing in romance and past life healing, adventure, and keys to inner treasure troves of the heart. Use her sparingly as one might a favored and rare potion or perfume. So if you would like to visit, if you think Oiseau blue, Oiseau is bird, so Oiseau, Oiseau blue, the word blue, then write her name down and invite her in and see if she is the dragon meant for you. All right. So I'm going to, and I shared on Instagram and on a YouTube short yesterday when I was like, did I really do this? Do people really care about this stuff? Does it really even matter? And I pulled out my Oracle of Light and Shadow deck, and they're like, just flip the deck over. And on the bottom of the deck was Dragon's Lair. And it's like a girl with, like a knight's hat on, like an armor, and she's holding like a baby dragon, and behind her is like a huge mother dragon. So I'm like, there I am. All right, it's my job. So before we go, I am going to deliver some light language to further help activate the help amplify the codes that I've just delivered today, because I've delivered what would be called in the speech, in the oration of what I've been saying, have been light codes, activations, and so forth. In the listening of this podcast or this YouTube video, those will be delivered to you, and the light language will just further amplify what I've delivered. So, if you're not paying attention or whatever, stuff doesn't really sneak in. This will help open you up and bring in. There was a lot to cover today. There's a lot to wrap your head around, so you may have to go back and listen to this a couple of times. But this will help as well. Sometimes the brain synapses or whatever, take a little bit to grasp it, or you may need a dream time or a journey or a meditation to kind of pull it all together as to kind of how you fit into everything I've just delivered here today. So I'm going to bring in, who am I working with? Just dragon. Okay, so many dragons are going to be speaking through me here. And you will receive what you need to receive through these codes that are being delivered. Let's take a deep breath together. And just open yourself to receive. Just say, I'm ready to receive.
Kiri turun tertitri kikara turu kin uruen ere nira a ki nira to shikra tikra no kokora kakatera ti shutai ai tama ai kaka kekere ne te kikakaratika kekere tu kekreti kekratut kekreti tata Okay, let's take a deep breath together. And I have so many decks sitting beside me. Why don't I just draw? I'm going to come back. The channel's not just card drawing. So I think someone was like, oh, the cards. And I'm like, yeah, that's not what we do here is cards. But somehow the cards are this interesting byproduct. But
let's just get any final little messages as you sit back and ground into that light language. Wampum. It is only as valuable as the energy and attention you place upon it. So if you're like, this is a bunch of hullabaloo, then it just so is. But if you feel like, oh, my soul work and this work that she's talking about is super important, I need to make some time for it, then you're being asked to make some time for it. Because Canoe also came out. New adventures await you and are ready for you to take charge of them. Haha, they came out together. So it's like you have to dedicate some time to this work, or who else is going to do it? If it's not us doing it, then it's not going to get done. All right, and let's draw one from the Vision Quest Tarot, and then I will say goodbye because I know that you've spent a lot of your time here with me drinking Olipop and basking in Queen of the Nile incense. We got 2 cards. Yes, Integration and Son of Water. Integration. This is from the Vision Quest Tarot. So Son of Water is like a Native American male figure in the water. It's like Page of Cups. And then Integration is this person, like this elder, and there's like a web too. Weaving. Let's just read these really quick. So I feel like you just need to integrate these energies a little bit before you work with them. Integration is the Temperance card in the traditional tarot, but it's alchemy. Just when it seems that everything has come to a standstill, the forces of transformation are most active. Refrain from criticizing the process that is taking place within. You are inwardly busy with the merging of your male and female energies. This brings about the balance you seek. To live a balanced life, these 2 forces must be integrated into a harmonious unity. This is what we talked about too with the Twin Towers. Remember the birds depicted on this card. Once the weaving of their forms is complete, they're weaving birds into a carpet or a tapestry. Once the weaving of their forms is complete, they rise up high into the sky and soar freely. This is what is known as the spiritualization of matter. Don't take a definite position, much less defend it stubbornly. What is going on inside you now is yet too fragile to be dragged out into the open and killed by explaining it away. Give yourself the freedom of not having to justify the delicate process of your spiritual development that must take place in secrecy. Respect what is happening in the darkness, far from the maddening crowd. Have faith in its appropriateness. Simply relax, and most of all, be kind to yourself. At the right time, the fruits of your internal labor will become clearly visible in your behavior and especially in your work. And then just for kicks, let's look at the Son of Water. Rebellion, urge to be free, the liberation phase where one breaks away from one's own habitual drought patterns, maybe it's thought patterns, sometimes the verbiage in this book is a little off, and those of others is one of the most important steps in growing up. This phase cannot be bypassed. With unflinching clarity, you have to recognize that struggling with your own inner world, your own phantoms, projections, and identifications will get you nowhere. Once you have seen this for yourself, the inner battle ends. You realize it was you who projected the movie now playing on your internal screen. Thoughts, when not supported and tempered by the heart, are not endowed with positive, life-giving power. Right now, it is best to refrain from carrying your misgivings out into the world or involve more people in your resistance fight. Accept the message of this card and ask yourself what exactly you keep on fighting within yourself. Slowly learn to stay centered, even in the midst of chaotic activity. Learn to rest in the stillness within, the silence that clarifies all things for you. I feel like that's your advice on how to work with the energies this month. All right, friends, we have taken up a lot of your precious time, but it was much needed. And so we will close this out now. I want to thank you all so very much for joining me here in this space. And we will look to see you again soon. Take care.
This episode has been brought to you by Frolicking Fraulein. Interactions with Frolicking Fraulein could bring on magical, mystical euphoria, dizziness, lightheadedness, sudden feelings of losing all sense of 3D reality.
Oh no, someone's been a naughty, frolicking Fraulein.